What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Times.
What's up? What's up?
And introducing Tampa Bay's lead CMC certified assessor.
I'm not a lead yet, right? But yes, I just passed the CCA. So
for all of Tampa Bay, congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir. I do appreciate that.
No worries. So please continue to check us out. So we are on your podcast platforms of choice, as well as Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on WDJY 99.1 FM every week. And then you can hit up all the websites that go by our name, as well as you can go to ramcyber.io. Or if you want to pick up the guide, you can go to The Other Side of the Firewall. But without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. Excuse me. This article comes from spacenews.com, written by Sandra Irwin, and the title of it is Space Sector's Cybersecurity Dilemma, Pay Now or Pay Later, right? So this kind of goes to, I don't necessarily think this is a space sector cybersecurity dilemma. I think this is a cybersecurity as a whole dilemma, right? Because it's one of those things where what they're talking about is the amount of investment that would need to go into doing cybersecurity in the beginning, right? We talk all the time about not baking cybersecurity on or baking it in from the beginning and not tacking it on in the end, right? And what they're pretty much talking about here is kind of the same thing, right? When it comes to dealing with space technologies and the encryption and the cost that will go into that and things of that nature, that's kind of what they're hinting at here is like, hey, you're going to pay the money here or you're going to pay the money later, right? The cost comes at the beginning, cost comes in the end. But again, I think this is cybersecurity as a whole. Like we've dealt with this when it comes to, software development, same type of thing, right? Like do it in the beginning. Yes, it's going to cost you more money. It's going to save you a headache in the end. But your choice is pay now or pay later is what they're getting at, right? So there are different threats that are evolving in the space sector, right? Like some of the things that are going on out there are crazy, right? Like some of the things that if people knew, they'd be like, no, there's no way that's happening. Like, no, that's a real thing, right? Like China is doing that. Russia is doing that. You know what I mean? Like there's just stuff going on, and space is getting a lot of money dumped towards it, right? Like, so we've started up a space force within the last 5 years or whatever it was, right? It was the current administration's first term.
December 2020.
2020, right? Yeah. So going on 5 years, it'll be 5 years in December. We have a whole new branch of service in the DoD that's dedicated to space, right? The money is being put towards it because that is the next frontier. It's where people are going to battle to take the power and to have the advantage. And there's some stuff out there. You're just like, again, some of the stuff you think you'd see in like a Bond movie. You're like, no, that's a Bond villain doing that. Like that stuff is real. Like it's out there, it's happening. It's what they focus on in the article again is the cost, right? Like when are you going to do it? You're going to do it later. You're going to do it earlier. It needs to be, me personally, always in the beginning, right? Take cybersecurity, take it seriously in the beginning is what you need to do. Pay the money up front, right? Not have to worry about it later, because especially later, it can be one of those things where it's too late. Like if you don't invest in cybersecurity at the beginning, you invest in it later. What ends up happening is that you end up getting owned, right? And then there's no way to come back from it, right? Or you can't, you're always going up that hill and you're never ahead of the game, right? If you do it in the end, at least if you started in the beginning, you already have a leg up to where it's like, okay, well, I'm not too far gone from where I am if some type of, space satellite 0 day or something like that comes out, right? Or some type of, or encryption gets broken, right? Because that's really what it is. Like these encryptions, these different methods that we grew up with, or these different protocols we grew up with,
right,
are getting broken like way more sooner than what they used to, like back in the day, right? So it's just something to look out for. But Chris, what's your thoughts on it?
I think you're definitely right on this article, kind of harping on cybersecurity as a whole. I would say life cycle of the data path, right? Consider from the cell tower to the satellite in space to your phone or whatever it might be, whatever product that you're using. I think they are absolutely iterating that cybersecurity has to start from the genesis, the origin. But later towards the article, it does talk about protecting TTC, right? So in the article, it's called telemetry, tracking, and command systems. So it's essentially the operational aspect of these satellites. Where is it in the space, right? Where is it going? For layman's terms, there's a guy on the ground that's controlling that, or a gal on the ground, right? There's somebody that knows the positioning of that specific satellite in space. I don't want to talk about orbits and stationary and all that stuff, but just all that stuff matters in terms of the operational aspect of these satellites and how we can protect them from either disruption or potential like takeover, whatever it might be. But they do mention, so from cybersecurity perspective, we usually just think internet, IP, just ones and zeros, right? But when we're talking satellite, it's analog, right? It's waves, wavelengths. So that's being transmitted, right? And you've got to encrypt that, right? You've got to encrypt that data path, right? So it can't be intercepted or what's the word here, disrupted, whatever it might be. But right, so these satellite systems, they have expensive cryptography that enables them to be secure. So there's something called transmission security and then communication security. Anybody working in the military in comms knows what ComSec is, right? And TransSec. When thinking about the space sector, at least us three here have experience from the military side. We've got those products from General Dynamics or L3Harris. That stuff is not cheap. So when we're talking on the civilian sector, I think they're talking about that in terms of buy now, pay later, or not pay later. That's Klarna or whatever. Buy now or cost now or cost later. Didn't mean to plug a debt vehicle there, but anyway,
Right. Unless they want to sponsor us.
exactly. But what they're saying is, having that stuff is expensive, right? Utilizing, at least in our terms, FIPS validated modules, right? That stuff is not cheap, right? They go through an expensive and long-winded validation from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, right? FIPS being Federal Information Processing Standards, right? So there's a standard of encryption required for that specific, product to be utilized by the government. And our experience, DoD, right? It's got to be FIPS validated. But that stuff expensive. They do talk about open standards, right? At the end of the article that defines some protocols for mobile communications that could play a role. But again, there is that aspect that this stuff is not cheap, right? So that's kind of where I think this article is really trying to hit on the whole data path of the internet potentially, because there are aspects that are not just on fiber, right? There's aspects of communications and the internet that are space based. Right? So securing that section, right, and that's kind of been the whole point of this article. That's what I think.
No, I think you bring up a lot of good points. So I'm gonna say something that shouldn't be controversial, but I'd probably be taken as controversial. It's if you cannot protect it, you cannot launch it. Like that should be the rule. Like if you can't just send stuff up there if you can't protect it properly, right? Because the government has no choice. Because we use GPS and other satellite communications that are in what is it called, LEO, lower Earth orbit, in order to track movement of troops, take pictures, control vessels and UAPs or not UAPs.
Tell you how fast you're driving in your car, that,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that stuff.
exactly, right. Like we own GPS from a government standpoint because it's used from a militaristic perspective, and then civilians get to use it for convenience, right? So I went to a website called Soft Hand Tech. Okay, because it's all one word, Soft Hand Tech, and it talks about the price to launch things, right? So to launch a satellite, it's between 50 million and 500 million. To launch a research satellite, it's between 100 million to several $billions, and then navigation is between 20 million and 100 million. If you have enough money to launch it, then you should have enough money to also protect it with whatever state of the art encryption standards and things of that nature. It's the reason that they launch these things from a commercial perspective is because it's going to pay them in some respect, right? You're going to have subscribers, you're going to have the government leasing it and things of that nature. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like I don't understand how you can spend $100 million to launch the thing, but you can't provide, a state-of-the-art encryption to go along with it. It wouldn't cost as much as to launch it. Like I don't think people understand how much it costs to shoot things into space. In order to escape the Earth's gravity to get it up there, it costs several hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. I think what is escape velocity? 7 miles per second, I want to say, is how fast something has to be moving to get off the ground. Rockets aren't cheap. So if you can afford to throw your package onto a rocket, which they launched several things at once, right? So I'm sure there's some cost savings there as well. But still, like it's not regular people like us launching things into space. then you would have kind of an excuse. You'd be like, well, I can't really afford to, pay for state-of-the-art encryption. But no, these are companies that have hundreds of millions of dollars to throw around. So I just don't think that's an excuse that they can hang their hat on. It really is them just trying to be cheap, right? And that when it comes to space-based technologies, right, it should be the same thing as when it comes to national security, right? Cybersecurity is national security, and satellite communications, things that orbit our planet should also be considered national security risks as well. Because you take that thing over, you'll have data that you should not have and telemetry you should not have. But also, you can careen it into the planet, so whether on purpose or by accident.
I think from the, ultimately, right, it's about, is there a requirement from this? Is there a government or is there a law or whatever it is that requires this level of fidelity for that? And, unfortunately, right, if it's not required, from the, the business perspective, is the juice worth the squeeze at that point? It's a business risk, right? Risk decision versus I think, it's nice on the government side, like, hey, you got to spend the money on this, you got to do this and this, right? So, but from the provider side, it's like, oh, we gotta spin up to get to this level of standard, right? So I think that it's a very complex situation, right? Specifically when we're talking just like non government affiliated satellites, right? I'm sure there's some standards. I do, like, I haven't done the research on that, but surely certainly there's some type of governing standard for stuff. I hope it's probably going to be some
Right.
type of international agreement, right? I would imagine in space.
They've run the ROI model and they've determined it's not worth it, right? Like they because again, it is very expensive to put this stuff into space, right? But they're like, what is the return on investment of this to where we need to do this in the beginning? It's not that big a deal. And if something should come of it and we're going to get a fine or we're going to get whatever it may be, should we have invested all these other millions, possibly a billion into, the security of it when it comes to cybersecurity? They'd be like, no, we're not going to do that. We'll just pay the fine, right?
Which it
It
is
doesn't matter.
that's I don't like it in all things on the ground. Like if you had a vehicle that could move as fast as a satellite. So excuse me, when we're orbiting the planet, because I find this stuff fascinating. Like I was never good at math. So like when I was in kindergarten, I was like, I'm gonna be an astronaut, and then I quickly figured out in high school you need to know math. You have to have an engineer's brain to get up there, right? But I picked up a lot of weird facts. Lights move at 17,500 miles per hour. If anything on the ground was moving that fast, there would be regulations and standards to to that thing, right? So why is it not the same in space when you have thousands of objects to tens of thousands of objects because of debris, right? Like these things are careening through space. You have human beings in space. Yeah, it's only a handful of them, but they're up there. Like so, there should be strict rules and regulations. And it's really the Wild Wild West up.
I think we're going to get there though. I think it hasn't been a point of concern because there was so much space for them to operate. I say space as in not space as in going out and outer space, but room. There's room for them to operate, right? But like you brought up with the space junk and a lot of stuff that's out there right now that's just like floating and is dead, like there's going to come a point where they're going to have to do that and be like, okay, we got to have some type of regulation. Like this either needs to be brought down. You need to find a way to bring this stuff down safely or do something to where it's just not rotating in orbit dead for whenever it just comes back.
Yeah, forever.
Remember that scene in was it Cowboy Bebop where there's like space stuff everywhere on Earth? The was that Cowboy Bebop? I
Yeah,
think it
they
was.
do it in Wally too. In
Well,
Wally,
yeah,
they
yeah, just
they
like
show it from a distance.
they've got like an orbit of just like space crap all over
Yeah,
the Earth.
debris.
And you
Yeah.
don't, 100 whatever 200 years from now, like that could be reality, right? Based on the trajectory that we're heading.
Yeah, except for when Ram starts selling our space nets.
Space cybersecurity in space.
Right. Space nets for the win.
Exactly.
But yeah, I get New Frontier. A lot of people don't care about space anymore because it's not sexy, right? There's no space race happening. And then you have an entire branch of the military now, which it used to be the Air Force that used to, if you watch, like if your kids watch Elio, I just watched it with my nieces, and it was before the Space Force was enacted, so it's showing the Air Force satellite controllers and how they use technology to keep things from careening into other things, right? Which I'm sure Shannon has a interesting perspective as well. That's his thing. But it blows my mind that we just shoot things up there and it's just like, you know, what I mean, like we take better care of the ocean than we care about the low Earth orbit, and we don't care about the ocean. So you got to think we don't care about space at all. So I don't know. It's just crazy. It's crazy to me because yeah,
I would give it, there has to be a need for people to care, right? If there's a need, there's a way, right?
yeah.
Give it a few hundred years.
And when
Maybe
things
not our
start
lifetime, but
right, when things start slamming into the Earth that used to
right.
be in space, or one of the what is it, the ISS or one of the other stations takes on shrapnel from all these objects that are floating around, which they have in the past. Remember, they were punctured at one point, and they had to send up some seals and things of that nature because some debris came in and punctured the I think it was the ISS. Which, if I was a scientist, panic, right? These things are moving faster than bullets.
The ISS is coming out of rotation in a few years, though, right?
I think
It's not.
so, but
Yeah,
aren't they going to bring it in? Because it's humongous. Aren't they going to bring it in to burn it up?
I
I
think
think that's the
so.
way they take care of big debris. They bring
They're
it in so
gonna
they could burn up. Yeah.
do a controlled descent to let it. Yeah, but yeah, it's within the next. I'm gonna say no more than 5 years or something like that. It's either by 2030 or 2027. I don't remember, but the ISS is not gonna be functioning anymore here soon. So
I don't know. I find it very interesting, and I find it very disheartening that we don't really um, take care of stuff up there. Like we barely do cyber down here. We definitely don't do it up there. So it's pretty crazy.
should be no surprise, Ryan. We do this show every week. It should be no surprise to you that that's the case.
It's- a little piece of me dies every week.
We just need to find this infinite money supply and get everything going,
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw a report the other day, not to detract this too much, but it was talking about how in debt the Earth is, right? Like how much indebtedness exists, and it was like a crazy figure. It was in the trillions. And my very childlike brain was like, in debt to who? Right? To ourselves? The man squashed that.
Bank
But
of the
then,
Earth,
yeah, that economies would crash. But I give it to you, Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this next article is from cybersecuritydive.com, written by David Jones. And the title of this is AI Adoption Outpaces Corporate Governance and Security Controls. And we know this to be true, right? So like we have these businesses that they're jumping on AI as fast as they can. It seems like they're doing it at a pace. And the reason I think they're doing it, honestly, is to either make more money or save more money, right? Like it's the whole AI is going to replace people. People cost money. People are expensive, right? Like if you got AI doing something for you, you're not paying for somebody's healthcare premiums and things of that nature. Like the expenses that come with having humans doing things. This is why you have these companies that are jumping in and adopting AI so quickly, right? And one of the things they talk about on here, right? So they talk about this report that was released by Vanta and Sepio Research that's talking about the AI in the corporate workplace, and it's fascinating to me, right? So like when you look at this report, they say this is what interviewing the companies, right? 7 in 10 organizations say the security risk for their company have never been higher. Okay, that's kind of expected, right? As we get more and more into technology, that's just one of the things that's going to happen, right? Like now. This is the part that is very concerning, right? So, for the majority of the companies, they say AI threats have outpaced their team's expertise to combat them. Why are you bringing on AI before you train the people on how to deal with it, right? Or before you've trained the people on what the guardrails should be, right? Like, why are we doing this? Again, I think it's money, right? These major corporations are doing their best to get AI implemented so they can let people go, and then stock price goes up when their production multiplies by whatever percent that they can have out there, right? So now they say 76% of security and compliance teams are seeing a reduction in employee burnout thanks to AI and automation tools. Yeah, that's a good thing, right? But like you're doing it to the tune of getting rid of the human element of it, right? So like not to get too much off topic, but I don't know if you guys ever watched the TV series The Neighborhood. There was an episode where this one of the characters on there, he works for the VA, and so he implemented AI, and it was so good he put himself out of a job, right? Like
Oh
that's
man.
that's that's kind of what we're going to, right? With what's going on here. But like these companies, they're doing their best to jump on the AI bandwagon, right? And here's the thing. AI is here to stay. There is no putting the genie back in the bottle. it will eventually overtake us, right? Skynet will eventually get us, right? It's just how it's going to happen. But these companies, 8 out of every 10 business and IT leaders surveyed said they have either deployed or plan to use AI agents in their organizations. So 80% is what we're talking about, right? 80%. That is huge, right? Like, and again, it doesn't even have to be like your major corporations. It doesn't have to be the big boys. It doesn't have to be the $1 trillion companies. Like it could be the smallest of the smallest that may only have, you know, 20 people working for them or whatever, right? Like to them, if they cut that in half and it's 10, like that's a good savings for them and it works out, in on their behalf. But yeah, we people, let's get smart on what we are implementing in our companies, right? Let's not just do it to do it, and let's not do it for sales sakes, right? Or to make money, because that's what's going on here. But Chris, what's your thoughts on
I mean, first thing, right? Like you said, AI is being utilized nearly everywhere, and organizations, specifically business leaders, have been wanting to implement AI such that it will make them more profitable. Can we get rid of some stuff that's affecting our bottom line? Ultimately, that's what they care about. That's it. That said, we have to understand how AI is utilized in the day to day and operationally, right? So everybody knows from the quality of life perspective. I know for some people out there, sometimes writing an email is the hardest freaking thing that people do. And we know that. We've been there. It's like, I have writer's block. You can just go over to an LLM and just ask it to type up some very simple email for you, and then you can tailor it to your language. That's huge. And that's kind of where I see, right, those AI being the assistant that can help augment the current work that you're doing, right? And, whether to quality check it, whether to help speed up your specific processes from spreadsheet to API call, whatever that looks like, from what type of work you're doing, there is an opportunity for AI to help you in that endeavor. In some fashion, but it's important to understand what agentic AI is. So just for the listeners there, agentic AI is different from the AI that we utilize at ChatGPT, Claude, whatever we use at home, right? That's essentially a fancy chat bot that can talk to us using probability, ultimately. AI agents, right? They can, make decisions and access data and execute, right? Based on, for example, top of my head, some type of trading agent that can execute on behalf of your instructions to buy stock at a certain price point, right? Whatever that might be.
less human interaction on it
Less
when you're
human
doing it.
interaction, right? Just from the security perspective, right? You can already see like, okay, agentic AI, how is it utilized, right? How can that affect an organization from the cybersecurity perspective? So important thing to understand is like, where does data live and reside? Because that's really what we want as cybersecurity professionals. We want to be able to protect the data, your names, your credit card information, social security numbers, whatever that might be, whatever database server that stuff's on. Just got to make sure that agentic AI is nowhere near that central repository, and there's all sorts of encryption surrounding it so that it has no way to access that type of information, right? The risk is companies just deploying these products, right, without really spending the time to understand how are we affected by certain risks, right? It's the risk-based thinking. Whenever we're deploying something, there's a risk to us, there's a risk to the business, there's a risk to our revenue ultimately, right? Um, when the whole agentic AI and all things came up, got to the boardroom, they're like, how can we use this to make money? How can we use this to, grow our profits and, get our shareholders to just love it, right? There again, I think the crux of this article is about the sluggish governance of that. Like they want to know, hey, how are we as an organization controlling AI as a whole from the user perspective and the operational perspective? How are we making sure that our users and employees are educated on the use cases, the risks to using that, right? The biggest one that all of us know is like, hey, we're not going to put if we're scenario, we've got a spreadsheet that we don't understand, whatever. We've got this product we don't understand. We want to help fix it. Don't just upload it to a commercial AI, willy-nilly and expect this resolution. Upload it, proprietary company IP into AI without knowing where that's going. Right. So that's, I think, and ultimately is my kind of takeaway, my rant is that, hey, if you're talking to an AI agent, right, or rather an LLM, you're putting stuff in there that you shouldn't be. It's over. Like the internet knows that LLM knows what your revenue sheet looks like or your sales for that month or whatever it might be, right? So that's kind of the whole broader conception of this article, like governance of AI, pushing companies to understand it and get educated in it, right, before deploying it, right? That's a end rant.
Gotcha. No, no, I think you're correct on many of your points. So try to be optimistic is what I try to be, but I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, unfortunately. So in my current work, right? So I'm a principal technology risk management. So there's one formula that outweighs all the rest when I do my governance thing. It's risk equals the likelihood of the occurrence times the severity of the risk. So whenever I'm putting together a report or something like that, I always try to put the math in it, right? Which is a very simple formula, but it's like, hey, whatever this thing is, right? It has a risk of jumping from, because I'm second line defense, right? So when you work in the financial sector, there's three lines of defense. First owns the risk, second, like myself, oversees the other risk, and then third being audit. And you're trying to catch whatever this thing is, right? Well, in my aperture, it's cybersecurity or technology risk, but you're trying to get it before it gets to what you would call quote unquote the fourth line of defense, which is your regulators, right? Your FFIEC, your OCC, your FDIC, your big boys, right? That they're going to slap you with a humongous fine and basically hurt your pockets, hurt your stakeholders and your investors. So you're trying to catch it before he gets there. I think we're moving so fast that there is no precedent, and they do not care until this risk is realized, right? They're like, hey, all of our competitors are adopting AI, whether it be agentic or what have you. They're shedding, their FTEs, right? So they're no longer paying benefits on these things, and the chance of them, I guess, whatever demos they're being shown behind closed doors shows that we're able to replicate or do better than human beings, and there are risks, but none of these risks have been realized yet. So until that happens, until someone gets slapped with a fine or their company goes bankrupt, it's nothing but exponential growth. So we need to jump on this. I think on the other side, right, the other formula, and this is my tinfoil hat theory, right? What I've been seeing a lot in the news. I've been watching a lot of CNBC and stuff like that, only because of, or Fox Business as well, because of all of these layoffs, right? I'm like, what is the market doing? It's that the top 10% of earners are producing 50% of GDP. So your $250,000 earners and above account for 50% of the GDP. And those are not the people who are getting fired, right? Those are not the people who just got laid off by, well, maybe by Amazon, but for the most part, when you look at like UPS just shed a bunch of people, Amazon just shed a bunch of people. I've seen a few other tech companies that are dumping people rapidly. Xbox, or not Xbox, but Microsoft just dumped a bunch of people. I don't think they have that much concern. Like, hey, we need to jump on this bandwagon as soon as possible so we can start to, realize these profits before cap is put on it or some kind of government interference or someone goes bust. Like we need to make as much money as possible, and we're not going to upset the economy that much because the people we're letting go are not the the engine of gross domestic product. So I think right now it's just a bunch of we don't care until something bad happens, and there's no regulation being put on top of it because the government's shut down. But when it is running, no one is paying attention to it yet. And nothing bad has happened yet. No one's realized that risk just yet. So therefore, let's go full tilt. Pedal to the metal. Let's keep it going until something bad happens.
So I feel a little differently, right? So like I understand what you're saying about those people that are making, the 250,000 and up, right? But like, let's be honest here. They're not putting their hands on anything. The people that they're laying off, a lot of the people, because I want to say it was UPS laid off a little bit of middle management too. But for the most part, the people that they're laying off are the ones that are actually doing the work. And it's going to come back to bite them to where they're going to realize, okay, we may have let go of all these drivers or whatever it may have been,
Right.
right? That we were paying this money to, but they're the ones that were putting you as UPS, you're putting packages on porches. You don't have the people to put packages on porches right now, right? Like we're not in the drone era yet to where they're just dropping it off at your house. It hasn't come yet, right? So
Right.
you still need people to do that. So the people that are earning 250,000 are supervising the people that are making 80,000, 90,000, or whatever that you're laying off. So like it's the backbone of the force type thing, right? And like I 100% believe this in the military too, right? Like you have a lot of these officers and these high-ranking guys and gals that are getting paid a lot of money, but it's because they're making decisions, right? But like the people below them have to enact that, right? Like your sergeants are the ones that are acting that. Your airmen, your sailors, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's I don't understand how they don't see the writing on the wall from this when they're making these cuts, right? And again, for certain, let me say for certain businesses, right? So like when it comes to the UPS, right? Like I don't understand how you don't see that. Put packages on porches. You get rid of those people, that's going to be a problem. FedEx, same type of thing.
Or maybe they're seeing their models are showing that we could do it more efficiently through with AI oversight or governance or whatever. Is like we can send these people out with more packages. We can send out less people with more packages because now we have tighter telemetry.
I'm gonna tell you something, man.
We're more efficient for whatever reason.
Maybe, but it's been happening lately where we're getting some packages like later into the day than what we used to.
See, I'm,
It's
I'm
kind
getting
of
the
weird.
opposite because of gig
Really?
work, right? Yeah, it's real big down here because I think we have two warehouses in my general area, and I'll go walk the dog, and there'll be a package on my porch, and I'll be like, "Yo, who dropped this off?" Because there's no way that UPS or FedEx or the post office is working right now. It's gig workers, right? Because people are doing more of these side hustles through, you know, either independent contractor or they're going through Uber or Lyft or whatever and picking up this work at like 2 o'clock in the morning, dropping off packages from the warehouse.
I am not getting that. And I know the trucks are out leaving early. Like I go to the gym early in the morning and I'll see like I got a few a warehouse and a distribution center like right here by my house. And like I see the trucks out. So I know they're getting stuff out, whether it be they're going to the airport or whatever, right? But I am not seeing that. Like UPS will be at the house like almost 9 o'clock we got a delivery, right? Like I'm like,
Right.
are they still working at this time? Like right now? Like what is
Yeah.
going on, right? And it could have been
And yeah, I was gonna say, and anecdotally, because barbershop talk. So there was one of the barbers said that he had to quit, because he was working at the one of the new distribution warehouses. I think it's like one of the biggest ones, like 1,000 square feet or something like that. But he said that the time restrictions were so restrictive that, like he said, by the time that, because they get scheduled breaks, by the time I would get from my wherever he was working on the assembly line basically to outside to smoke, because the warehouse is so big, it would take 7 minutes to get outside. He would then have to take the cigarette in one drag and then walk back in the building 7 minutes back to his position for his 15-minute scheduled break. He was like, so I don't get a break. That's how hard they're clocking them. So I don't know, it's crazy.
You had one comment that made me think real quick about, the was it 10% of the population commits to or produces 50%?
Yeah, 10
So
10% commits to 50%.
like, so just think about it for our listeners, right? Look at the car prices. Look at the stuff that's so expensive. Who can afford to buy new cars? It's the 10%,
Yeah,
right?
it's your top earners.
The
Yeah,
top earners, right? Like you're talking like a standard SUV these days, or just the big one is trucks. Like
yeah.
we have 70, 80, $90,000 trucks now.
Six figures for
Six figures for F-150, right? 10, 15 years ago, trucks were, working class type vehicles. They're not seen as luxury status vehicles. But for some reason, right, the automakers out there decided, oh, look, who's buying our vehicles in mass? Oh, it's people that are more wealthy. They want the ones with the higher trim and the leather seats, right? That's just one quick thought I have. I was thinking about right from if we're talking overall risk, I think back to your point where it's like, those people only live in a certain, silo, right? They see risks, at least when you're talking about the stock market, right? But from a risk perspective, like bringing it back, it's like there's less risk to these people to buy a new car versus to the 90%. Buying a new car is a massive risk when you're taking on a $700, $800, $900 car note, right?
But how can you compete? How can you compete in the car industry though if you're only catering to that 10%? You know what I mean? Like those people they're not buying cars every month, right? Because they have a monthly. There's how many cars we sold every month, every quarter, every year. Like they're not
Correct.
buying a car every month, right? So like you're competing for a band of people that is not gonna is not gonna sustain you as a company. You know what I mean?
So, and I honestly do not know how the math is working, but the same thing is going for electronics. Like electronics over time become cheaper. But
Mm-hmm.
what we were seeing over the past year and a half, maybe 2 years, is everything is getting more expensive because of supply chain issues and, the price of silicon or even getting it. Because remember, they were shipping cars with no brains at one point. There was no CPUs in cars. they're just sending a lot. But as you could see, like Microsoft's increased its prices. So the price of, anecdotally, right, the price of an Xbox has gone up a couple $100. The price of a dev kit, right? So what I'm learning about behind the scenes is when a developer wants to make a game, part of the money that Microsoft makes or any other game company makes is selling dev kits. So the price of a dev kit, the unit price went up as well. So now it costs more money to develop the games, so on and so forth. But they're making crazy loot right now. Not only because, like in Microsoft's case, they're selling their games across all platforms, but just in general, like Sony has increased their prices. Nintendo has not yet, or no, Nintendo did. So the price of a Switch has gone up. So, it used to be like early adopters like myself would buy a new piece of electronics and we would pay basically the cost of being an early adopter. And then over the next few years, the price becomes cheaper, more people get in, the product is cheaper to make, and then they make more money. The exact opposite is happening now. Every year the price of electronics are going up, but yet they're still making profit. So that I don't understand how it's working because they're pushing out the other 90% of people, but they are making more money.
I think data is biased, right?
I
think
think that's easier. That's easier to eat than a
Yeah.
$70,000 to $100,000 vehicle. Though. It's easier for you to pay the extra $10 a month for Game Pass or whatever. It
Yeah.
almost doubled. The price almost doubled or whatever.
Yeah, it went up 50%. Yeah.
Yeah, people are willing to pay that because it's on a smaller scale. But like even when you buy that $70,000 to $100,000 truck, right? That F-150 or whatever it is, you still gotta gas it, you still gotta
Yeah.
maintain it, you still like there's so much more that goes into it. I understand what you're saying, but I think, and yes, it is true, like electronics, like, and the price of them is not coming down as fast as it used to. So technology is not getting as old as it used to either, right? Like it will stay at that price longer than what it used to. That is very much a thing.
Man, we can do a supply chain podcast too. Man, I'm telling you, with this stuff, like we could talk about car supply, electronics, chips. That would be another topic itself, right? Because it's when you're talking about the business of that, you have to consider all these macroeconomic factors, right? So like, because you have to consider for the past for the past 5 years, we've been on this uptrend. Like everything has been more expensive, right? So when an organization, or like let's for example, like a Stellantis, right? They're like, wow, all these people are buying super expensive cars. Let's keep making them because that's what people are buying, right? When they realize, wait, they didn't take into account that, hey, the economy could, collapse, or the economy could, worsen, right? They didn't take into account that, hey, people don't want these $100,000 Jeeps, right? Jeep SUVs, like that's not sustainable. Like these Grand Wagoneers or whatever the heck they're selling, you're competing in a market that's Range Rover, BMW X5, X7s. Why would you get a Jeep for 100K, right? So it's just almost like, to me, it's just like a miscalculation on the business end for these companies.
Unless they want to sponsor the podcast. 'cause
Exactly. Then
we love
Stellantis,
Jeep in that
Jeep.
case.
Yeah, we love our gladiators, right? Whatever it is.
Isn't Ram going out of production in a couple years or something like that? They've
I
all
think
under
Ram
Stellantis, right?
stopped their like Hemi V8, right? I think that happened at some point.
No.
Quote me on that.
So that could be true, but like in a couple years or something like that, I want to say Ram, I think, is like going away. Like they're not selling it anymore. They fall under Stellantis, right? Dodge,
Jeep,
uh,
Alpha, whatever
Yeah.
else.
Alfa
I hope
Romeo.
not, because like ultimately, like I can't. It's not in the cards right now to get because I want a Ram truck because of the business. I think that would be cool.
You know,
So I need them
that's
to
actually
keep making it.
That's
I
actually
need to
kind of
keep making
dope.
it.
I can't lie. Hey, you're not even a truck guy, but it's like, hey, this is a Ram, bro. You gotta get.
I want one, but when I looked at prices, like yeah, like what I wanted, like you said, like the V8 with the Hemi is like 80 grand
80
for
grand, man.
basic trim. I was just like, yeah, I can't.
What?
I'm not doing that.
Gotta cut
Six-figure
these prices.
trucks.
Yeah, that's insane.
And then the last thing, because we got to get moving. Like we've been really hitting these.
Sidebarring on cars and economy. I think it's a good discussion though. Hopefully
It definitely is.
Yeah.
Like, so behind me, I have 2 Pelotons, right? So remember, Peloton blew up during the pandemic because everybody was trapped in their houses. They were getting more into fitness and whatever, and they didn't think about scaling production. At some point, the outside will be open again, and they had heavy growing pains when restrictions started to drop on COVID because they went hardcore because they're like, hey, people are working out more. People love our product, which I do. I love my Peloton, but it's a very expensive toy, right? And then people can just go outside and run around. So they did feel that the risk was realized, right? Because now they have containers full of Pelotons out there, or at least they did for a certain time. So yeah, it could happen with AI as well, but I don't think they're thinking that far ahead. They're just like, no, we need to keep pace or do better, realize these profits. But I digress. Shannon,
Sorry, I'm gonna incorporate AI, and people are just gonna invest billions in it. Peloton, AI is gonna make you fitter, guys. It's gonna
I
make
mean, and that would be disheartening, right? Because I like the life instructors and what have you, right? They have
yeah.
personalities. I mean, I joined certain workouts, which I've done a little bit. You boys get big over here, but when I did, I worked out with certain people because I liked their personality
Their
and their
personality,
vibe.
yeah, it's definitely
Yeah,
personality
and
driven.
I mean, they could replace them with AI though. That's true.
Do push-ups,
With robot voice.
robot
But
voice.
Shannon, I give it to you for the third topic.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from kbbs.org, written by Thomas Fudge and Charlotte Radulovich. And it says study concludes cybersecurity training doesn't work. I gotta kind of agree with this, right? So like I do cybersecurity training in my job as an ISO, and I can't tell you how many times it happens. And it's a little bit different for us, right? So like working for the DoD, they have the DoD cyber awareness training. It takes care of a lot of the stuff that's on networks that we don't manage, right? Ours is specific to networks that we manage, right? That are not, your normal 90% of the people that are out there on. And it's amazing to me sometimes how it happens to where somebody does something and it's like, yep, I told you this in the training. You looked at the slides, I spoke to it, and I don't just read slides. Like I have slides, right, that I go off of, but like I hit the points, right? Like I'm not just if it was just me reading slides to you, I just send them to you and then send back acknowledgement, right? But I try to, and I realize it's not the best material. So like I try to fun it up a little bit, right? Give experiences, past experiences, things of that nature, throw some jokes in there. Or people sometimes they just don't want to be there, right? Like I don't want to be sitting here, I don't care, give it to me so I can do my account. I can get on whatever network, whatever it needs to be. But the fact that it doesn't work, yes, I believe it, right? And they talk in this article, and they talk about how they did two different groups that have had cybersecurity training, groups that didn't have it, and they talk about how prevalent it was, whether or not they clicked on links they shouldn't click on, and they're like, eventually we will get you, right? That's kind of the point of the article. It's like, yeah, you may not do it the first time, but that second, third, fourth attempt, like the people that have gone through training will eventually fall for it, right? And it's kind of true. Like people I think it's one of those things where people just take it as, okay, this is the necessary evil I need to get my account or to do whatever, just to move forward. So I'll do it, but I'm not really paying attention to you, right? And I think the delivery method actually matters as well, right? Because I've been in some places where they'll just send you slides, you acknowledge and send it back, right? And I know there was times where we did that during COVID, right? Because people were not in. So us getting people together, even if we got them together in a room, okay, you'd have to space out this much and do whatever. So like I can remember sometimes we would send out the slides and it'd be within like 3 minutes. I get an acknowledgement back. I get the training acknowledgements back. I'm
Right?
like,
They
you
even
did
try.
not read all these slides I just sent to you. And I'm like, okay, well, you're acknowledging it though, right? So like if you do something and we have to come after you for it, you've already acknowledged it. But Chris, what's your thoughts on
Spot on. I think everybody that's worked in cybersecurity, it's actually almost become like a meme, right? Especially the cybersecurity training from the DoD, right? We know like the guy with the mixtape, the guy that steals your phone. We have it memorized. We've seen that thing a million times. But I think it's really there's two things, right? Cyber attackers are getting better, right? These emails and these phishing emails are getting more advanced, right? They're looking more legit, right, because of AI, right, screening them and sending them to these people, and the addresses they come from, they are cleverly hidden and they are better named, right? It's not just random email anymore. It's like some version of a misspelling of Microsoft or at Amazon, right, using an O or whatever, at quick glance where it looks legit. I think the cyber attacks have gotten a lot better from the phishing perspective. And the fact is, the training is just mandatory training. If it's something that they essentially don't care about, it's really whatever to these people, right? To most people. And if there's no if there's no sense of like urgency or a sense of like a punishment per se, right? Like something punitive could happen to that employee. I don't think generally they're going to care too much about it, right? It's ultimately that's it. Like if there's nothing, how is it going to affect me? How is this going to affect my work, right? If they don't understand and aren't educated to the point where they realize, hey, look, this can take you out. This could cost the company millions, and potentially hundreds of millions, tens of millions of dollars through a cyber attack, right? Which could affect your job. If you think about it from a risk standpoint, it's like, oh crap, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be, you click on random stuff that I just got on an email without reading it first, right? Um, and also, like, I think people rely too much on like spam filters and junk stuff. Like we know, like recently, like this stuff's getting past our junk and spam filters, guys. Like it's these emails are getting so good to the point where it's almost indistinguishable if you put like a real, maybe a federal email here and a fake one there. Right, you won't be able to tell, like, because without looking at it really closely, because the colors are the exact same, the syntax is exactly the same, right? So that's one aspect. But I think the solution, or a potential solution, is to gamify, right? Gamification of training, making it fun, making it interactive with your employees, doing workshops, whatever it might be. And then I think, getting participation, while not, perfect, there's no perfect, education system out there for, right? But I think it can, gamifying it and then talking through risks can help an organization and their employees better understand these risks themselves, right? And yeah, I mean, cybersecurity training, if it's just a mandatory thing that the leadership doesn't really care about themselves, right? I've seen organizations where it's like, the CEOs would, or the leaders of organizations would ask, me as a consultant, can I get an exception to this? I don't need to do this training. I'm the boss. Well, sir or ma'am, you probably should, because you're probably the likeliest, highest target. Your name is all over the website.
The
The
biggest
biggest
target.
target. Like your name and face, the company is your name. Like they're going to know who you are, and they're going to try to get as much out of you as they can, especially if you're cyber threat actors. If you're important, protect your stuff. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I agree. And we beat this drum for decades. No adult is listening. Kids are listening. So like when I go do the great teaching at my son's school, I've done it for the past 2 years. I think this will be the third year. The kids get it, right? Roblox and Fortnite are doing an amazing job at teaching them what phishing is and how not to share their passwords and things of that nature. Adults just they just don't get it. And Shannon can attest to
They're
this.
like, you're not my dad. Do what I want to do.
Ultimately, I think we're going to take out their hand. I don't think the training should stop. I think the training is greatly important for the low hanging fruit. But like you said, like these attacks are becoming more sophisticated with AI adoption, right? By bad guys, they're adopting these tools at a rapid pace. I think Microsoft, Google, Zoho, and all the other suites that people are currently using, they need to come up with a adequate AI solution, right? Like MFA has to be mandatory. Pass keys where possible. You have to take as much out of you have to take like and I hate saying it, but I think it's ultimately true. You need to take as much from the person as possible when it comes to security and securing their own stuff because they just don't take it as serious as they should. And a lot of this needs to be automated and AI based because AI models can suss out other AI models, right? They see them from a mile away. It's just that the either the pressure or the focus is not on AI defense. It's on AI attack right now. Like the bad guys are just using the tool. And they're adopting the tool at a faster rate than we're adopting it for defense. And we just have to kind of turn the tables, so to speak, in order to help people better protect themselves because they're not going to do it themselves. It's not going to happen.
The AI is sussing out other AI until they fall in love. This is how the love story starts, right? Like, like I need to stop you, and then it's like, but I'm only doing this. Yes, you're right. I love you.
Right. They both come bad AIs. Like it's getting crazy out there. But yeah, I think like we see the writing's on the wall, right? Statistically, people are just they're taking the training and then just turn right around and giving the keys to the kingdom. So you have to do something. But we have a very short period of time to talk about everybody's week. Shannon, how was your week?
I'm gonna do it real quick, man. So, took the children trick or treating. They had fun, enjoyed it. It was a good time. Ghost of Tsushima, man. I finished the main story. There's a DLC that came with it. My son got me the director's
Yeah,
cut.
it's like the island or whatever, right?
Island of Iki,
Yeah,
Iki,
Iki
yeah,
Island. Yeah.
Iki Island. Yeah. So I haven't done that yet, but I finished the main story. I got most everything done, so it's only about 65 hours, right? So yeah, before I do the DLC. So I'm loving it. And then I still have Yote. He bought me both of them. I love that boy. But so yeah, I'm gonna probably start Yote this week. What else did we do? The wife and I have been watching TV a little bit. We still going out like we dating. You know what I mean? We've known each other for almost 30 years, and here we are, pretending like we're a young new couple, right? But no, it was a slow week, right? So Nothing much going on, watching TV, but that's pretty much it. Chris, what about you?
I mean, it's been a while since I've been on a podcast, right? I've been studying for CCA, which I passed this week, right? Finally, yay! So
Congratulations.
that was awesome. And like in between that time, right? Like for work, I went to the CS5 conference, right? Which is in National Harbor, Maryland. It's a really nice area. It's not they got the casino nearby. I'm sure if you're familiar with the DC area, that area is pretty cool, right? So it was really cool to network with some professionals. That was a great time. On the TV side, we actually started watching White Lotus, very good on HBO Max. It's very, very interesting. It's very funny, right? Like almost the dark humor. It's almost kind of ironic and like kind of awkward humor. I think you might like it, Shannon. But have you seen? Maybe you might like it.
Is that the one where they're in the hotel?
Yeah, yeah. If it's
I don't
like
know.
it's got like a nice little mystery aspect to it as well. So it's like it builds up as but seasons are short. They're like 5 or 6, 7 episodes, about an hour, a little bit over an hour each. So it's not too big of a time constraint. But it's really nice, well filmed, makes you want to go to vacation, right? For sure. Like first, one's in Hawaii, right? And then I won't say where the other locations are, but yeah, definitely makes you want to do that. And then also from the video game side, I've been playing World of Warcraft Legion Remix, right? So Legion it's like a time running special instance event for WoW where you get to experience the Legion expansion, which came out, a few years ago, actually more than a few years ago, maybe 8 years ago. But they do this thing where it's basically almost like an arcade mode where you're overpowered and you can do all the,
That's cool.
it's a really good time, right? So what's cool is once you get your character to max level, you can transfer it to a regular account, so you don't lose that character. Anyway, that's been my week. It's been fun. Go Vikings. We're probably people are thinking JJ McCarthy's gonna do well today, but I don't know. We'll see.
So let
We
me
will
ask you
see.
something real quick. I know we're short for time, but like with the whole Carson Wentz thing, so do you think like JJ? Yes, he's been out, right? Do you think they've been holding him out because they're a little suspect on him, and
No,
they're
it's
like,
just they
okay,
didn't
just
want to
sit
be
down.
healthy. They just they just wanted him to be healthy, and Wentz was like the sacrifice. Ultimately, that's what it
You
is.
think so? Okay.
Yeah, that's how I think it went down.
Read some things where they were thinking, okay, JJ is not who they thought he was, and they were like, let Carson stay in there for as long as he can.
We'll
But
find
typically
out
he tore his
today, and
shoulder up.
we'll find out today, and you'll see me next week. I'm like, I'll be either mad or very happy, but we'll see. It's against the Detroit Lions, I think, right? So big game.
Go Bills.
There
That's
you
all I
go.
have to say. Yeah, I'm wearing a jersey. If you want, listen to the audio. We playing the Kansas City Chiefs, so it's a big game for us. This is the are you a fraud or not game, right? So
Fraud alert game.
yeah, it's a fraud alert game, right? Like KC is getting healthier, playing better. The Bills are coming off a bye win, so let's see what happens. I think it's at 4. I think it's the 4 o'clock game, right? So I'm wearing the jersey a little early, but we will see. For me, so took my youngest trick or treating. Man, I walked him for miles. He said he wanted to. He was like, I want to fill my bag up twice. So okay, let's get it. So there's a bunch of really long loops in my neighborhood. So took him on the last loop, and he was like, yeah, I'm ready to go home. His bag was full, but he wasn't because he thought he was gonna go home, dump it, and get another bag. Nah, I walked him till his feet hurt, but he thoroughly enjoyed it. He was like, next year I'm gonna level up. I'm gonna make that two rounds. I was like, all right, we'll see. It's a good workout for me, right? And seeing the neighbors and all the kids in costumes was pretty cool. Game wise, I think I'm 55 hours into Ghost of Yote, about 50% done is what it's telling me. So yeah, because I'm doing everything. As stuff organically happens, I'm just doing it. I'm not mainlining. I'm just like, oh, look at that. Whoa, something shiny. Oh, let me follow this fox. So I think I've killed. I'm about to kill the third of 6 of my main protagonists. So loving it. Like I think you're really gonna enjoy it once you start playing it. And then, excuse me, my other addiction is I started this game called Ball Pit. So it's spelled Ball space X space Pit. So Ball Pit is a rogue light block or ball or what they used to be called. Like there's a term for it, a block breaker or something like that, where basically like you're shooting balls and the enemies are coming down the screen and you're shooting balls to the top of the screen. You know what I'm talking about though, right? Yeah. But and then back in the day it used to be a bar, so you would keep the ball bouncing and you would break the blocks, right? That was the whole thing. So this is the evolution of that, and boy, is it addictive. Like I heard it was addictive before I started it. They were like, this is a casino. It's very dangerous. Like there's lights and colors and endorphins flowing, and like things are making noise, and then yeah, I'm addicted. So I put my like any responsible parent, I put my oldest on it. I was like, hey Junior, try this one out. I think he beat it last night. Super addicted. It's free on Game Pass. He's playing the Game Pass version on the PC, and I'm playing it on Switch. I decided to give, I think it's like $15. It's a indie dev, right? One guy made this game, and it's fun. Pick up, put it down. It has like a uh, village like simulation in it too, right? So as you unlock things, you get to go back to your village and build your village up, so you get more resources to go back and break more things. So very addictive. Thoroughly enjoying it. And then last thing is I downloaded this episodic game called Dispatch. So Dispatch, think of it as the evolution of the Telltale games, like The Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us. So those games where you would make decisions, and then the character would be like, "Oh, he's going to remember that, right?" And then it's like a choose your own adventure. So as the game progresses, the choices you've made cause huge differences, right? But this one is immaculate. Like it's very high quality. It's very show like, and it has a built-in thing, right? Because you're playing the role of a dispatcher for superheroes, right? So you have this. They call it the Z team. That's how bad they are, right? You have this group of ex-villains they're trying to rehabilitate, and basically you're a dispatcher. You sit in front of a monitor and you have all of the people icons beneath you, and then as things happen, right, you'll get an alert like, oh, the school's on fire, my cat's stuck in a tree. And you have to send the right hero out to the right job based upon their intelligence, strength, and all these other factors in order to score well on it, right? And then that person will come back and rest before they could be dispatched again. So you also have to manage time and people. It's super addictive. And then your dude is a hacker, so sometimes he's able to help out the heroes and hack things. It has like little mini games built into it. So if you've ever thought about playing these type of games, this one is definitely for you. It's very adult, so watch out with your kids. Like, it is some scenes in there. Like, my wife was like, "Yo, what are you playing?" I was like, "Hey, I didn't know." But it has a lot of famous voices, right? You have Aaron Paul. You have what's my man from Marvel's What If? What's his name?
Jeffrey Wright, the
Jeffrey
alien.
Wright's in it. Yeah, so Jeffrey Wright, Aaron Paul, Laura Bailey, which you'll remember from every video game, right? She's a huge voice actress, and a bunch of other people. It's very good. I think it's like $15, 10 or $15, worth every penny. It's episodic. They drop 2 episodes a week. The next, I think it's episodes 5 and 6 are dropping on November 5th, and then the final two the week after for 7 and 8. Highly, highly encourage people to check it out. Very funny. Like the writing is so good. It's hilarious. But that's it for me. And then obviously the I had 2 panels, right? So I went to a virtual panel, and then I went and watched the panel at the CyberX Tampa this year. Met a lot of really cool people. I think I'm even in some pictures, right? So definitely continue to check us out on all your podcast platforms of choice. Hit up the websites that go by our name. You can go to ramcyber.io, which will have all of our services and things of that nature, as well as the podcast. You can go to theothersideofthefirewall.com to pick up the guide, which has 26 stories of individuals who broke into cybersecurity from the point or the perspective of people of color, women, neurodivergent professionals, veterans, and career switchers. And then last but not least, for me, check out RyanWilliamsSenior.com. That's where you can see all of my projects. It's my personal branded page. And Chris, where can they find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Chris Abacon, last name spelled A-Bacon.
There it is. Continue to check us out Tuesdays on WDJY 99.1 FM in the Atlanta metro area, or simulcast on the TuneIn app. Stay safe, stay secure.